Ladies and gentlemen, individuals dedicated to truth and those who explore profound ideas, I address you not as an infallible champion, nor as an unbroken dreamer, but as someone, perhaps just like you, shaped by the shadows cast in childhood and the quiet, underrated strength of simply surviving. My story is not only mine, it runs as an electric current underneath the skin of everyone who's ever felt invisible, misunderstood, or alone. In the dusky silence of a cramped apartment, walls yellowed with regret and ceiling cracked by the weight of screams, I learned the first lesson of the Sigma, how to listen without sound, to see without being seen. Each argument in that home was a storm. My father's fury a hurricane that knew no season. My body learned to shrink into corners, to make myself so small the pain might miss me. Some call it hiding, I call it survival. An early mastery of the art of disappearing. Out there in the city, life pulsed with promise, a cacophony barely muffled by our thin windows. It was a world that offered everything and noticed nothing. Teachers churned through their lessons with distracted eyes. Classmates, loud and careless, mapped their joy over wounds I carried like invisible ink. I was sharp, sharper maybe than was healthy for a boy desperate to believe in goodness. But intelligence unrecognized is like light trapped in a locked room. It doesn't heal, it simply whispers its growing frustration to the four walls around it. So I learned, slowly, painfully, to pay attention to things nobody else saw. The trembling hand before the outburst, the quaver in my mother's voice before the dam burst, the way silence sometimes warned louder than any shout. I became a ghost with the senses of a wolf. I knew how to disappear in a hallway, how to melt out of a bully's line of sight, how to pick up the subtlest pulse of danger or longing in a crowded room. My childhood was a masterclass in heightened awareness. They called me too quiet, but I heard everything. Every hurt, every hope, every lie. When you grow up in chaos, routine is a treasure and trust, a luxury. I built fortresses in my own mind, became a scholar of books and daydreams, imagined futures so vivid they were almost real. But reality, cold and unyielding, has a way of calling you back. Life on those rooftops in rain-soaked alleys in the glare of neon signs didn't care for my solitude. Temptations came dressed as saviors, the promise of forgetfulness, of easy power, of belts unbuckled in anger. I saw friends disappear into those easy answers, drugs, violence, a fist for every unanswered question. But I was different. I was Sigma before I knew the word, an observer and analyst in a world that demanded noise. While others shouted to be heard, I learned to coax meaning from quiet, to sense where truth hid behind facades. I became adept at vanishing, both to guard myself and to sharpen my vision. Disappearing was never weakness. No, it was my rebellion. A refusal to play by rules that never protected boys like me. There, in those early years, I learned that there is tremendous power in being the watcher, the silent strategist. Strength was not always a raised fist. Sometimes, strength was the ability to let a storm pass over you, to breathe through panic, to hear a lie in a loving voice and know, deep down, that survival sometimes means walking away. This is what I want every person who feels small, or ignored, or trapped in the friend zone of life itself, to know you are not alone. The world mourns loudly for extroverts and kings, but it was built by those who listened first. Some of us are forged in fire, but others, quietly, are shaped by shadow. The Sigma path is not the road of arrogance or cold detachment, it is the road of inner conviction, of wisdom gathered in the margins, of power cultivated where no spotlight ever shone. In the bleakest hours I found an unexpected gift. Silence is not emptiness, it is potential. In the void left by broken trust and shattered certainties, I heard a voice, my own. Timid at first, but growing surer with each heartbreak survived. I learned that listening is the first radical act. If you can interpret the world's static and discern the truth beneath its noise, you possess a superpower, empathy fused with insight. You notice what others miss. I watched the cycles of anger repeat in my family, saw how fear passed like an heirloom. But I also saw the possibility of breaking the pattern. Every time I didn't lash out, every time I let pain become understanding instead of violence, I rewrote a piece of destiny. Sometimes choosing not to become what hurt you is the loudest act of defiance there is, and in that act, you become more than your past. You become a beacon. That child behind the locked door, clutching his knees as glass shattered in the next room, he was already learning to lead, quietly, by example, not command. A Sigma does not ask the world for permission to exist. He carves out space, shapes his mind until it's unbreakable, gathers lessons in silence until his truth is undeniable. If you've ever felt invisible, consider this. Perhaps you are gathering strength. The seed is buried in darkness before it bursts into bloom. I promise, the hard-won awareness that keeps you safe can someday set you free. The world needs more listeners, more readers of moods, more interpreters of the human heart. You cannot heal if you cannot first sense where the pain lies. You cannot lead if you cannot first follow the current of the unspoken. But the most epic lesson, and yes, it will shock you, is that the very skills you develop to survive invisibility can make you unforgettable. The people who hurt me most never saw me coming. They never imagined that the quiet one, the outlier, the watcher, could become anything at all. Yet here I am, and here you are listening. That power to observe and endure, to combust pain into fuel, to spot cracks in the surface, these are the makings of legends. And I tell you this now, because I see you. If you are still hiding, still haunted by the storms of childhood, you are not condemned to repeat old scripts. I have walked away from the mirror, and I did not lose myself. I found the one version of me no trauma could destroy, the witness, the thinker, the one who gets back up. That's the Sigma, not a ghost, but a force so subtle and sustained it eventually turns shadow into light. So what do I ask you to do? Keep noticing, keep feeling. Do not run from awareness, even when it aches. Become an expert in the weather patterns of your heart. Take the lessons you learned in childhood, how to sense danger, how to spot hope, how to disappear, and wield them now as gifts. Use them to protect, to create, to mentor, to rise above the noise. Take pride in all you survived. Let your sensitivity be your sword. Allow your pain to shape a deeper compassion. When others rush to fill the silence, listen harder. Hear the melody in the quiet. Your empathy is not a weakness. It is the blueprint for courage. Your scars are proof you were built to withstand what others could not even see. If you feel alone, let this moment connect us. I promise your isolation has not been in vain. You are part of a hidden lineage of survivors, watchers, sensitive souls who have the power to remake the world, one act of attention at a time. You are not alone in the shadows, and you never were. It is funny how you alone are the living proof of that, too. Change does not begin with grand declarations. It begins in the small, private revolutions, when you choose to act instead of react, to step into the unknown rather than play the role you were given. It is epic, these quiet rebellions, each one a brick in the foundation of the life you deserve. Tonight, I urge you, do not hide from what made you. Stand in the alley. Remember the shards, the silence, the weight of your first heartbreak. Remember the child who would not be destroyed, who wrung meaning from misery. Let this be the moment you step out of the shadows, not with bitterness, but with a fire only the lonely can ignite. Choose yourself. Choose to rewrite the ending. Become the leader you needed, first for yourself, then for the world you will change. We are not the sum of our wounds, but the sum of the lessons we are brave enough to learn. And when they look for you, when they wonder how you did it, let them find not a ghost, but a legend. Burn brighter than the neon, my fellow survivors. If this resonated with you, feel free to subscribe, comment, and like. Thank you so much for sticking with us and watching all the way to this point. It truly means a lot and makes a real difference.